Hey everyone, it's Miss Queen Crypto, and I am back again for another episode of Friday Block Talk here on the Embily channel. Now, if you didn't already notice, I did lie. I am in a new setting when I said that I would probably be located at my new home base for a couple of months, but no worries, it's just a short trip. I'll be back home soon again, so just wanted to explain why things look a little bit different this week and not like they did the past couple of weeks. But now that we've got that out of the way, today's video, or this week's video, I wanted to talk about what actually gives Bitcoin value, why it has value, and why people are confident that it's not going to go to zero, despite what some analysts may say and some people not in the Bitcoin space may say when they first kind of hear about Bitcoin, or when they hear that we have like a 50% price drop. This is in light of a recent conversation I had with my father when he was asking about how my cousin was doing, and he was like, yeah, that's been a pretty tough toll. And I was like, everyone's chilling. I mean, yeah, it definitely hurts, but I mean, we're all pretty confident in the recovery, and it's just waiting it out until then. And so I'm going to kind of go through some of the points I made in that conversation with him, and then add some new things since I've had time to reflect on that conversation and think a little bit further on it. So with that, let's get into it. The first thing that comes to mind when I ask the question, what gives Bitcoin value, I'm sure for most of you, is scarcity. So when we're talking about scarcity, we're talking about that market cap, the cap of 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be mined, and you will not exceed that. Of course, with the halving, that's not going to happen for a long time. I think like 130 more years or something like that. However, we are still approaching a point in time when there will not be any more Bitcoin entering into circulation. Right now, with mining, there are new Bitcoin entering into circulation every day, but that will not happen at some point in the future. I might have had the year wrong, but I think it's between 130 and 140. However, we get into an issue, well, not necessarily an issue, but there's kind of a beauty in the system because of that market cap. Since there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin in the halving, the growth of Bitcoin circulating or in like the market pool follows a logarithmic kind of growth. And so that means that it's going to kind of taper off at the end before approaching an asymptote, which means kind of like a limit. It's never going to actually hit that limit. It'll get infinitely close, but it's not going to actually reach it. However, a very important thing when we're talking about supply is demand. I've only taken one economics class in my entire life. However, I know that those two things are very importantly related, and they rely heavily on each other. So while we have our supply that's kind of logarithmic in growth, but there's nothing that outside influence is going to change with that, the one thing that is changing is the demand. And so when we're talking about wanting mass adoption, we're talking about trying to spread the knowledge and spread why Bitcoin is a great asset and get people introduced into this and learning about it. We're virtually trying to increase the demand of it, which makes sense because when people learn about Bitcoin and want to buy it, that's increasing demand. And so as of right now, the demand is probably pretty close in line with the supply available, and that's why you have fluctuating charts, and obviously that changes on the day-to-day basis. However, they're not totally outlandishly different from one another. However, when we want mass adoption, and when you hear people talking about those crazy numbers of Bitcoin, like Bitcoin hitting 100,000, but crazier than that, like 1 million, or when you hear people talking about how in the future people will be buying Bitcoin, but like the base unit is going to be Satoshi because a whole Bitcoin will be just so outrageous and so outlandish that no one could even conceive of thinking or like think of that as buying something like that. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about an exponential demand trying to work with a very limited supply, a logarithmic supply. And so there's a point when those two graphs will meet, and supply will absolutely be able to fulfill the demand, and they won't be outdoing one another. However, it is far more likely that the supply is not going to change. There's nothing we can do to fix that. It is fixed. But the demand is what's going to keep going up and up and up, and that's when the price is going to, in turn, go up and up and up and up. But that's something that we're still working towards. Obviously, you can't really predict when that'll happen, and there will still be fluctuations in the price. I'm not arguing that Bitcoin isn't volatile. I'm just saying that this supply and demand model is something that really is the core of why Bitcoin has value. Not the only reason, and we'll get into that, but this core idea of there being a finite supply trying to keep up with a growing and growing demand is one of the reasons that we've seen such immense growth in Bitcoin over the past couple of years. We just talked about why Bitcoin has value from an economic sort of standpoint, a standpoint that anyone who understands economics or has a basic grasp of that could understand and could kind of start to see why there is value in this asset. However, there are other things about Bitcoin and other traits that Bitcoin has that also offer to its value and as a currency why it should have value, because everything that has value isn't a currency. You know the Faroche eggs or whatever, I don't know what they're called, but people aren't like using those to go to the store and buy them, even though they do have value. Same with like a diamond. You're not going to go to the store and purchase something with the diamond. You'd go to a pawn shop for cash to purchase something. And so that has to do with the transferability and the transportation of Bitcoin. And so transferability means that it is extremely easy to send Bitcoin from one address to another address. It will take, depending on the day and getting it confirmed on the blockchain, can take like 30 minutes to send whatever amount of asset that you want with a pretty minimal fee, especially compared to Ethereum nowadays. Sorry guys, but it's pretty minimal and it's not really involved on your part. Obviously you want to make sure that you've got their address right and you need to sign off on it, whatever, but all things considered, it's relatively fast and easy, and if we're talking Lightning, it's even faster, obviously, but that's one of those things. It's a trait of Bitcoin that makes it very appealing as a currency and as a transfer of money when we're talking about buying things or transferring services and goods. But then the other thing is the transportability. Being able to carry it in a theoretical wallet, because the wallet that you store isn't actually storing your Bitcoin. It's like a theoretical storage to help us grasp it. It's really only storing your keys. But it's so much easier to carry around a little flash drive or a little piece of paper that has your wallet info on it than it is to carry around the money for everything you need. Most of us have a wallet on our phones, and so that's even easier. I'll say, I forget my physical wallet all the time, and I have been saved so many times by Apple Pay on my phone because I have my debit card linked to it, and so that has saved me countless times, and I'm always worried once I notice. I'm like, please tell me they have Apple Pay. Please tell me I can use this, otherwise I'm totally screwed. But it's like that same type of ease. It's just as simple to use like a Lightning transfer for payment or to just send it to an address minus the time. But it's something that makes it super user-friendly and easy, and it's something that we should be looking for in a currency, because a currency is something to make our lives easier and better and ease on transactions and make the economy run smoother. And those are just two of the reasons that Bitcoin is appropriate for that and easy for that. The other thing being that it's pretty darn easy to break up a Bitcoin into smaller parts depending on what you're about to purchase. Now that's not so easy with a diamond or one of those fancy eggs. You can't really just break a chunk off and hope that that's appropriate for whatever good or service you're purchasing. With Bitcoin, it can go into like the millionth or 100 millionth even. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But it can break down into pretty darn small pieces that make it appropriate for purchasing goods of any magnitude. Because now you could send pennies with Bitcoin, but you can also send millions. And they're treated as similar transactions on the blockchain. They're given like the same amount of care and determination when being put on the blockchain. So I just think that those are some good points to bring up when we're talking about the value of Bitcoin, because it doesn't just have to do with the economic side of it and how it will act with supply and demand. It's also the inherent core traits of Bitcoin that were put in place in order to make it a successful currency and to give it that value and make it actually enhance the lives of the people using it, not just be there and not helping in any way. At the end of the day, Bitcoin has value because we say it does, just like everything, economics is basically just made up and it's all theoretical, and we just put it in places and hope that it works out. But Bitcoin really has value because we say it does, and because we say it will have more value tomorrow. And so at the end of the day, that's really the best argument that you can have. It's because there are a group of people who are loyal and who support it and who put time and effort into making it even better. Thank you to all the devs out there. But basically, that's where I'm going to leave it off today. Just saying that you are the reason why Bitcoin has value. And honestly, what's a better message than that? But if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I appreciate you staying till the end and watching it. If you want to see more content from me, you should follow me on Twitter at Miss Queen Crypto and subscribe to the Embily channel while you're at it. But that's it for today. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Bye.